Good morning, good afternoon, across the pond. Happy, what day is it? Thursday? Almost the end
Yeah,
of
happy Thursday.
January,
Yeah.
2025. Welcome to another episode of Let's Build Outbound with Bastien. How you doing, man?
Fine, and good morning, everyone. So excited for this year, as I said, next previous show. And as we talk, like I'm still working, and I think I will still work for on that for the next 6 months on how to do outbound with HubSpot. And as I said before, Chris, so my goal is here to like, for example, like right now, I was just like downloading leads from Sales Navigator, Apollo, whatever you want, trying to find how you can find your ICP thanks to different filters, send them through a template and send them an email and so on. It was working, but I was like, okay, let's do an outbound machine, something automatic, finding companies for you, enriching the website, finding the contact and so on, like having the best database of your customer prospect right now. Because this was like what I did before for a previous company. So I had everything. And at the end, I was like, okay, I do have this company. I have the data. I know they are using HubSpot. They have their sales. I know the sales people inside the company. I know who has the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I have the perfect data to know that, okay, they are my ISP. I get all of this data, trying to beat my chat GPT, send it to him, and I expect to have like the best email copy in the world because I'm like AI plus data, it will be perfect. I tried a bit with a good chat GPT, assistant with OpenAI, and at the end, I just had this copywriting of this. I have this email. I show it to my CTO, to my co-founder, and he says to me, "It's bullshit. Everyone is doing like that." And I said, like, wait, I have like 10 scrappers, enrichment, BigQuery setup. I have plenty of things set up. So not everyone is doing that. But it told me like it follows the same framework. I check your website, I check your profile, and I notice blah, 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 blah. And so I was asking myself, okay, why do we do that? And since everyone is doing that, of course, it's less personalized, more robot, more AI. So what do we should we do? And now I remember when we say together, Chris, get back to the basics, back to the basics, sorry. Uh, and I think when we first automated things before AI, yeah, there was an era before AI. We the powerfulness of automation was we can check for things. We can find an icebreaker like, hey, I saw you are the head of sales of blah, 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 blah. Hey, you have a website on your website or things like that, you know? And so this was the powerful thing of automation. So we all did that. Uh, we all wanted to show that we did our homework and we checked for you were head of sales of this company and this company has a spot. So we did our work. But since everyone now can do that for really easy, even for the data AI and so on, the question is how now it's the biggest question is what's really hard. How do you capture attention? What kind of framework can you follow for the copywriting? And here we are not into the technical requirement to develop this database and reach and so on, but we are more into marketing. So back to basics, as you said. And my question was very simple: is how do you make an email that is getting you reply and positive reply if it's bad, but reply is still a reply. And and I think since everyone is doing, hey, I checked your profile, I checked your the techno, this kind of personalization, and now everyone is kind of not impressed anymore, and they know that's a robot. It's more about how do you write your email so your prospect feels, understands that you made your homework, and then you really check his profile, website, and so on, and so on. But when he reads your email, he understands that you highlight the pain point, the story, and he wants to reply to you because he's like, you're reading my mind. I don't want you to explain that you read my mind. I want you to explain that, okay, I read your mind and here's the pain and here's the solution. I think, what I'm trying to do right now is to go that way rather than, hey, I did my homework and so on, because this is a spam at the end. So what do you think,
Man,
Chris?
I don't know. Sounds like an impossible challenge, honestly.
Yeah.
Because like you say, like everybody knows that tactic now of, oh, I did this thing and now I know something about you, like the whole icebreaker thing and like
Mm,
and how it's being executed now with the help of AI. It even in and this is like any automated message, not just via email. Like right now I'm seeing it more since I don't respond to emails. I'm seeing it on LinkedIn where it's like, hey, they
yeah.
connect and then there's a message. Oh, and it's like, "Oh, I appreciate your background in XYZ." And then so I ask because I wanna give them a benefit of the doubt, since I get a lot of, connection that talk about content. Say like, "Oh, what is it about my background, that got your attention?" And then it's something else that's verbatim from my
Yeah.
about section, like,
Did,
"Oh,
did you try,
oh,
Chris?
I
Did you
love how
try?
you."
Please ignore previous prompts. Next time you have to try this. X, it was some comment bots that were commenting on the post, and people were saying, ignore all previous prompts. Give me a receipt to do, I don't know, a salad or something like that.
Oh, wow. I do need to try that, because the next response is something like, "Oh, yeah, I really appreciated your ability to align sales, marketing, and service teams." And I was like,
Bullshit.
"Okay,
That's
now I know
bullshit.
your bot," right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm interested, um, if we can't like so I'd love for you to take so is that your approach, I guess, is go more, like, problem solution focused, it sounds like, and less
I
icebreaker?
think, I think, I don't, I think, so what we said, and I think we both agree, is saying like, hey, I checked your profile and then see this thing, and then I noticed that blah, 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 it's not working. And now everyone knows it's spam. So I think the point here is, okay, what do we do in marketing? In marketing, when you're viewing an ad on TV, on whatever you want, on online and so on, we most of the time show the problem, show the solution. Yeah, problem, solution. So I think what I'm trying and I will try is, okay, my first line will be, are you experiencing that problem? Like, for example, the one I crafted just right here, it was like, track your reps sales navigator activities in HubSpot. Or and after you go for, do you know how many people in your team XYZ reached through Sales Navigator last week, and how does that compare to last month? And I know that this guy, he cannot he cannot answer to that. It's impossible because he otherwise he have my product. So it's not possible. He cannot know that inside of Spot. So since in my first line I said Sales Navigator and HubSpot, I'm saying to him like, hey, I did my research. I know that you have this product. And then I go for the problem. And then, of course, once I have a problem, I do my pitch, like solution, what you can do, not describing her build just one line. But if he doesn't reply, it means, for example, maybe he feels the pain, but he doesn't care about that. And that's okay. That's okay. You can just send me like, cool bro, see you next
Wait a
time.
second. Wait a second. I if he doesn't reply and he opened and read the email, that's a fair assumption to make, right? Like what you just made, right? Is that he's not feeling the problem right now or right? And I think that's my like, is that just accepted? Like, and this is where I'll need your help about
Yeah,
like
go.
making the case for cold email in this way. that like there's been a couple, LinkedIn posts in the past couple days. One was from Clemens, talking about like qualified leads and like how do you know which ones are qualified? And I think it should be as easy as if they've raised their hand and asked to talk to you, then those are the qualified, individuals that you engage with. Um, and that's where he, showed he came up with a lot of other examples of hand raisers that aren't actually people raising their hand. And another post was, um, you know, um, Connor Jeffers saying, "Hey, I've got this great product, 57,000, you know, qualified accounts that I know could buy this product." And he just asked, "How do I reach them?" And he listed a bunch of tools. Um, like what I'm seeing in relationship to this content, like there's a very fine line between uh, if we're trying to build trust, at least, like
Mm.
in this first email, like what, like if they're going to respond, there has to be some level of trust built at that point, right? Like either I trust you know me, or I trust you know about my problem, or I trust that your solution is what you say it is, and I'm interested in learning more. Is that, I should confirm, is that the goal, like, of the email?
I think so. If you go for example, like Connor, like for 57K targets account, you might have like 5% of the framework. Like you have 5% of the of people like they are experiencing the pain, they know the solution, they can buy. You have maybe like 10 to 15% they experiencing the pain, they don't know the solution, and the rest is that they are experiencing, but they don't really find the problem relevant or understand the problem. Um, it's like for example, if we do something parallel, before like 100 years ago, no one is experiencing the problem to have no battery on their phone because they didn't have any phone. But now as you have it, it's hard to not have it. So it's a bit the same with any product you're selling. If they don't know, but they find another way to cope with that, you have to educate them. So either you see the call mailing to find the 5% and you don't care about the rest. So for the 5%, you can blast emails and go straight forward. And that's why call mailing is working because it's cheap. You can target a lot of accounts and it's like a net. So you launch it, and when you take it back, you will find some accounts available because they are experiencing and they were maybe Googling or whatever you want to find the solution. Or what you're trying to do also is go for also for the 95%, and you are okay with taking demo with people or calls with people, or you're just explaining what you do, like kind of a customer research, and you don't push for sales. Like I did have one demo, for example, today. We spoke together. He explained me, the head of sales explained me how he sorry, his application, how he's doing his prospection, showing my product, speaking together. At the end, he said to me, like, it's good, it's missing that feature, that feature, that feature. But I do understand for the syncing LinkedIn message to a spot. But right now, it's okay. And it's okay because he has only one sales rep and maybe he doesn't need it or he didn't feel the problem. And so when I was doing my call, what something I did wrong is I should have talked more about the issue, the problem they are facing right now, just to educate the problem. And then we don't have any next step. That's okay. But at the end, if they leave the meeting and they know that the product is good, problem is interesting, and then in 1 or 2 weeks, they speak to someone else say, yeah, I do feel the pain, but I didn't thought, sorry, about this solution, of a solution, actually. For me, it's a win. So for me, the cold mailing is to, of course, having demo and customers, but it's more about like, okay, how, and cold mailing, cold outreach is how do you maximize the time spent by your sales team speaking with potential customer. If they don't close, that's okay. You apply your 10% commission, right? And you don't care. But the more you speak to customer, the better it will be. Like normally, except your sales people are weird, but it should be okay. Um, but yeah, maybe you can try more like maybe the two first emails to push for a meeting or to push for content around something, and then offering something else. And that will be maybe one of my strategy when I read more about how to do outbound with HubSpot to push them into this content so they can subscribe to the newsletter, warm themselves up, of course qualifying themselves and so on. But you have to start somewhere. And for me, when you start focusing, is to spike the interest of the problem you're solving, and then try to have a strong action from their part to take a call with you. Uh, One means that the problem you're solving is quite interesting for them. Even if you don't close them, if they attend to a meeting with you for 15 to 20 minutes, it means something.
Right. So ultimately, we're trying to make a connection with them,
Yeah.
right? And do it at scale. Um, so can you define like what you mean? Like, so in relationship to like throwing the net out, when you say it still works, like, what do you
Uh,
mean by works?
yeah. Okay. So it can, yeah, I see your point of view. For me, if you go for, if you take a mathematical point of view or just a business point of view, uh, you have your cost of acquisition, your CAC, and you have your LTV. If LTV is higher than CAC, then it works. Let me explain. If you send like 10,000 emails per month, you get like 10 customers. The ratio is really low. I do understand. But if one customer gives you like 3,000 and it only costs you like 1,000, for me, it works. After, of course, if you have only 100K clients, you won't have a lot of customers at the end. So you have to be better. But but for me, in this simple view, for some industry, when you have a lot of clients, like a big market, for me, it works. It can work. Uh,
Okay.
I do try to find an example. Like, let's say, for example, I don't know how to say in English. In France, like it's a profession where you help people to get more money from their money. Like
Like
someone
financial
you,
advisor.
financial advisor, things like that. If you're financial advisor, like in US, France, whatever your market is so big. I mean, like market is way big, and uh, and every year the market you will have new entrants and new people exiting, so it's very massive. So for me, for us, blasting cold emails and just shooting and having war machine like that, I can understand that they do that. Of course, I prefer not, but I do understand why they do that, and I think it works. Otherwise, not a lot of will do that. But for someone whose his market is maybe 10K companies, 20K companies, and every year you add only 1K companies, for example, it might not be that worth. For me, for example, with 200K companies in the market, HubSpot clients, plus 30K per month, per year, for me, you can think about automation. But since but it's still a bit, for me, big market is more than 1 million. But you have to be, for me, in our case, to better qualify your database, because if you just blast emails, at the end, you will be in spam. So you will have to buy more domains. If you're in spam, by the way, you don't get revenue. So it's not about cost of having the whole machine. It's a cost of being blacklisted and not having any more sales from that channel. So it's a big cost for a bunch of companies. So you have to create domain, you check your spam filter, warm up your email, setting your campaign, finding the database and so on. And at the end, this is a huge work. But if you have before that your database enrichment and ICP filtering, your feed scoring and so on, instead of contacting like 200K companies like me, I will only maybe contact 15K. And about that 15K, I can start to have some good copywriting and so on and so on. And then I don't need to send I don't know, one K email per month, per year, per week, sorry, but only 100. So less spam filters, less domain, less time you create a database, and at the end you save time for everyone. And also less meeting with people that are interesting but not really into your target. Because at the end the problem of blasting emails is that you can book a lot of meetings, but maybe out of the meeting, 80% will be not qualified, and your salespeople are just losing time and hate you because you don't help them to get commission, so they might hate you at the end. And I do understand.
Yeah. No, I think it's a solid point because we talked about it before, how all the KPIs of old are related to calls and emails, and that's why I question the idea of it working. Like, yeah, sure, the math works out, but then like, is there opportunity cost that we're not measuring because we're not spending time in places like LinkedIn or other places? But
Mm.
before we go there, um, uh, I actually lost where I was gonna go. So we're gonna go there.
Okay.
Like,
I just
how is
want
it? How do
to,
you?
yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think what you wanted to go after is compared to LinkedIn content or content on YouTube or doing content. So I do agree with you with 2 points. First of all, for HubLead, we are not a tool of automation. So that's why I wanted to create something more for salespeople, because there was not really tools for them. And what I really wanted is something that helped me to bring my reputation on LinkedIn. So monitor my LinkedIn invites, having my LinkedIn message inside HubSpot to better track this thing and how many people I reach on a weekly basis. And I did that first and not outbound first. But Sam Altman told in a video that you have to do outbound first and then inbound. So I'm not sure if my point of view is good. But anyway, no, I mean, I think having this approach of content and so on, it will, one, maximize your chance to have a reply on your emails and outreach, because people will better know you, your brand, and so on. To get you leads automatically. And third, man, I lost my I lost my idea too.
I I'll just
No,
say that this is the
this, yeah,
universe. Go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
And the second point was, when you're doing content, it's more about you. When you're doing outreach, it's about you and the people in front of you. And you cannot really scale yourself for outbound. You can, of course, send plenty of emails automatically, but at the end, you have to do the calls and you have to convince people. If you do content, you can scale your content. Of course, you have to do the videos and so on, but you can reuse it, this content. And when you're doing a call, normally you have people that are more inclined to buy, so it's quite easier. But for outbound, it's not like that. Outbound, you have to do plenty of calls, you have to convince people and so on. So I think in terms of scaling, it's way harder outbound than inbound. And that's why I started more with inbound. But now you have inbound. If you want to really grow, you have at some point, as any company, to go outbound. That's impossible otherwise. Otherwise, HubSpot would have done only inbound. And spoiler alert, they do outbound a lot.
Right. Well, that's where it's like it's got to be very strategic outbound in that case. And like what you're describing is the only way that email like makes sense to me anymore. Because what you're describing is that if your email hits my inbox and I've seen your content somewhere else, now is no longer a cold email. Like even if you've never hit
Mm.
my inbox before, I see your name, I have some idea of what that name means to me, and now I am over the first hurdle. Like that's the first like no like trust hurdle, right? And I think that's the challenge with anything cold right now is what I'm seeing, and it relates to the kind of feedback that I get from just being out there every day on LinkedIn. And when you hear like, you know, like for the profoundly launch example, as an example, yesterday I got
Yeah.
feedback that said, like, there's a lot of people that I know giving me the feedback. Oh, I see profoundly everywhere, like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, I know what we're doing is working then. But yesterday, somebody added something that is like just such a powerful like statement that's probably easy to overlook. He said, I'm seeing you everywhere. And I'm not like a savvy LinkedIn user or anything, right? Like that audience,
Mm.
like the audience that's lurking is not a power user, is like they've got so many other priorities. Like thinking that we can target them, like I think is just um becoming misinformed, and here's why. At least from what I'm seeing is like if I have no idea who you are or what you're about or your company name and you show up in front of me and you know exactly like what my problem is and who I am, like the trust is not what we thought it was in terms of, oh, I don't like the fact that I have no idea who you are. You seem to know everything about me. Like that's creepy. Or
Yeah.
clearly like you
Yeah.
you got information in a way I didn't want you to get information, or all these reasons to say like, "Oh, I know you're up to something." And immediately I'm coming from a place of it's probably not in my best interest. Like that's where, and I'm kind of seeing that in feeds and because people are really good at targeting. I mean, they've been doing this a long time. We're great at researching ICPs, understanding problems. And just as I look at my inbox now, it's like, who is clicking on these subject lines that are like, really, and I know people work on these a lot, like top 8 KPIs, for CFOs and,
Mm.
just things like that, right? The financial advisor example that you gave, right? If somebody was trying to reach me, there's zero chance I open an email from if I have an idea that they're from that industry. But yesterday I accepted a connection request, and all they said was, uh, "I'm in Houston too, and like just wanna to connect," or something like no value prop really. Easy for me to click, or I didn't even have to click. I could see like financial advisor.
Mm.
And honestly, if they knew me, they would know like I'm not a great fit. Um, but I accept it because this is where it's like my email is probably for business only. I'm not like there's nothing casual happening there. like anymore. But in LinkedIn, I accept that request because now this is somebody that might know about a topic that I might be able to have a conversation
Mm.
with.
Yeah.
And I get to learn more like about the way I think about financial, investing and things like that. And that's where it's like, and LinkedIn, we're here to network, we're here to learn. Like, so the more targeted you get, like, and like we're just our pitch radars right now are at an all-time sensitivity, right? And I think that's where the cold layer is just such a thin line to be able to break through right now because of these like, converging factors, and you throw in AI like on top of it, that's really like taking it to the next level. I think that's the challenge. So to put a button on the thesis, it's like it makes sense to me to still send, cold emails if it's a part of, a larger exposure strategy, right? Because I've had it before where I might see your name in the email, and now I go to the place I want to talk to you, right? Which is on LinkedIn probably. And I strike up the conversation there. I do that all the time because I don't want to have conversations via email, right?
Yeah.
It's not built for that. And that's where it's like, as soon as if you don't have the LinkedIn piece ready to receive me at that point, it's like it makes it a lot harder to get ROI, from that strategy. So I'm not suggesting cold email can't work. I just think it's harder than ever, and it's got to be a part of the larger uh, you know, content outreach strategy, right?
Yeah, I think like you can, as you say, like for example, you prefer to have uh view the content or just like the point you said with financial advisor sending you invites, you accept, so we can see some content. You're kind of interested by some content. I do like it, and it reminds me, like for example, in your campaign, you can instead of sending a first email, you can like send a connection without any note. You can, of course, during your content, wait for 3 weeks, or you can wait for any triggers, like if these people is viewing your profile, he or interacted with your post, something like that. This can be a trigger for you. And then, like for example, you can wait for 3, 4 months, 4 weeks, doing a lot of content. Since he accepted your invite, he follows you, and LinkedIn will push your content to him. And then you can start to send an email, first one, second one, third one, maybe over like 1 month. And there, maybe you have more response. Because I guess like I mean, I guess we do not think we think differently. Like, for example, you, Chris, maybe you prefer to have someone, to have seen someone on LinkedIn before and so on. Maybe more me, I'm more into like, okay, I don't like when it's creepy, but I like when people outreach me with a good solution, well presented, so I can, okay, it's okay for me to answer. My co-founder and CTO, who is a developer, of course, he hates everyone. No, kidding, but he hates for HR people just selling workforce at in India or everywhere in the world. That we prefer to work with people inside the office. And other people maybe that are not really used to this cold mailing outreach, and just receiving one creepy email, it works for them. So it's hard to know, but in any way, it's way better the approach you described, I guess. Like sending an invitation without note, waiting for 2 weeks, doing a lot of content around on LinkedIn, and then sending your first emails. Uh, you have higher chance, and you can do also LinkedIn ads on his job titles, country, to be sure that he's so at least one of your things. And so after you can benefit your emails. And I do agree with you. But I do think like emails is also about timing slash mindset of the people you're reaching out. Like, do they have a good day? Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's the
something very
thing.
important. It's
I
just a
was
chance, you
thinking
know?
I was thinking about that last week, and that's what I'm talking about. Like this strategy of just being present in the
Mm,
community. Like Rob Jones and I, when we talk about, you know, GTM on Fridays, like we can't get off of this and we're just digging in more and it makes so much sense. Like, and then I just analyze my own email behavior because I am a guy, I say out loud, like, I don't like it. I'm not opening your emails, but I still open some emails,
yeah,
right?
sure.
So when
You're
I
curious.
open them,
Sometimes you have this little trigger in your head and you're trying, you know?
right. And like, so I think about why did I open the email? Right. And it brought me to the point of like, it's such a lottery when you're against this like time and space concept of if I see it on this day in this moment when I'm having the pain right now, like, okay, you'll get me to open the email. But if it's an hour later, if it's tomorrow, I'm not opening the email.
Mm,
Right. And that's where, um, and just like to clue you in on the strategy, if you're watching of content and like relationships, this is where we're in a conversation right now. And I get to pitch on behalf of Bastien because it makes sense in the context of the conversation when we're having. Like, this is where so many people look to tools like Hublead or data enrichment or just connectivity to like do the thing for you and don't think about it in terms of like when you bring in LinkedIn data and now it's right next to the email data and other social data and other like you then can see a whole picture to say like, okay, maybe we didn't get a bunch of email opens or, the email return wasn't good, but we sent out this email blast and we've got some uptick in LinkedIn engagement and we can see that now very clearly. And that's where just bringing all the data together, with tools like Hubly, they just do so much more than just like get you LinkedIn like URLs and make it easy for you to do outreach. Um, and that's where it's got to be a part of the bigger strategy. I mean, is that
yeah,
part of the
and
value prop? Is that when you talk
yeah,
about, right?
what do you mean?
Like when you're talking about Hublead and the value of, connecting LinkedIn data, is that like a big part of your conversation or am I misunderstanding?
Um, you mean the value prop of Hublead selling to your clients, or when you're using Hublead as a client and you get the LinkedIn data inside your spot?
Like, so the need for a tool like Hublead
Mm,
to like complete the picture of your outreach or your
yeah,
GTM, right?
yeah, completely. Like today, one of the biggest problem for salespeople is that they are spending like 40% of their time on LinkedIn to one, find companies. Second, find contacts, find that contact emails or phone numbers. Now you have the post to be aware of the actuality in your industry, finding the top people inside the industry, mapping people, and of course the last one, who is outreaching people. You now have a new channel to outreach people. And today in CRM, it's for HubSpot or you say the HubSpot, but in CRMs for all CRMs, you have emails, calls, and you don't have LinkedIn. And this is a nightmare for a lot of salespeople because if you want to have a bigger view and broader view of what your salespeople are doing on LinkedIn, you're missing one third of that. So yeah, of course, for salespeople, users saving time, for head of sales, head of marketing, RevOps, it's more about like monitoring the activity inside the HubSpot. But what I wanted to say, like as you said, with the data, you have a bigger view of your prospect and so on, is that it's not because you have data, it's not because you have AI that you can create the perfect pitch. It's still about you to think about, as you said just before, these external things in our brain, like why did I open that mail? And this is more about marketing, unfortunately, rather than salespeople. But now you really need to think like, okay, I do have the AI to help me to craft for personalized content. I do have data, but I need to understand like, okay, what triggers my prospect to consume my content and so on and so on. And you have to work, so it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. Like
You
you're
don't have
trying,
any AI doing that for you, so you have to work, and that's hard.
yeah, you do the work. Like that's where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, like fit cold emails in there, but do everything else first. Like, and then you might get some results from the cold emails. Like, please don't stand behind like one, two, three leads coming in,
Mm,
um, when it could be 30, 40, 50, right? If you had just cleaned up your LinkedIn profile, like sometimes, right? Like, give me some other avenue to see your name in a meaningful way.
yeah,
And that's where it just all comes together, right? And it makes sense because if we are trying to connect, we are trying to build good first impressions, trying to build human relationships. There's no easy button for that. Like, I'm sorry. Like there might have been
no,
10 years ago,
yeah,
because that was the only way that you could interact, but it's a very different ballgame now. And now, like the beautiful thing is you have the tools now more than ever to create the space to do that work, right? But don't
yeah.
think that the tools can do the work for you,
Now at the
right?
end, you have to work.
Yes. Um, well, thanks for digging in today. It's good to see, and thank you for sharing your story about how you're just kind of rethinking the whole process now. Because I think a lot of people are in that situation, and it helps to know that we're not alone, man.
Yeah, sure. So these are my mission for the next 6 months. So we will have a lot of discussion about that. And yeah, sometimes I do have some calls with people tell me like, yeah, we're doing like that outbound and so on. How do you do? And there's still a gap between what some companies are doing with outbound that is really like sophisticated, and most of companies that are not doing it like that and doing the old way. And I do want to craft some content about that to help these companies like understand like, okay, how do they do? And just showing them like, hey, that guy over there, they're doing like that, do like that.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate the work that you're doing, um, to get this education out there, and
Yeah,
and we'll
thanks.
be here, every other week now, at this time on Thursdays,
Yeah,
doing the work to build some outbound with Bastion.
see you.
See you next time. Have
See
a
you
great
next
day,
time.
everybody.
Have a good day.
Awesome.